part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Chase Smith, founder and CEO of Press Play Podcast. You may have heard me on the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast with Jeremy Powell, now wonderfully hosted by Holly Wetzel, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast with Sam Amico, or my own podcast, the Chase Smith Podcast. I wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about a brand new subscription-based podcast we're offering this football season, the Press Play Sports Podcast. This premium podcast feed will send all of the sports podcasts offered on the Press Play Podcast Network to one central feed. Yes, you can still follow and subscribe to all of our individual shows for free on every podcast platform. But if you wanted to consolidate your podcast feed and listen to them all in one location, the Press Play Sports Podcast is for you. I'm talking the Oranges and Oranger Browns podcast with Holly Wetzel and Jeremy Powell, Red Guy and Rhoda, Sable Brothers on the Baseline, Cavs on the Break, the Dennis Maniloff Show, the Ball Card Show, the Premium Fantasy Podcast, a Swing in a Tribe MLB podcast, and the Tim and Shipe Show, a college football podcast, all in one feed. All 9 of our sports shows curated into one single podcast feed. Out the door, you're looking at $5.36 a month after tax. That's $5.36, just about the cost of a drink at Starbucks. And this is only offered on Apple Podcasts. You can't get this anywhere else. It's an Apple Podcast exclusive. Just go to the search bar and search Press Play Sports. It'll come up and you can subscribe from there. We're excited to offer this consolidated, curated sports feed for you to enjoy. And as always, thank you so much for listening and your support.
This episode of the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network, is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Align Health Center. Align Health Center is the first chiropractic biophysics clinic in Northern Ohio. The team at Align Health Center helps patients with back pain, neck pain, migraines, ADHD, digestive issues, sleep disturbance, whiplash, scoliosis, and much more. And along with chiropractic biophysics, Align Health Center is also the leading clinic in regenerative medicine, also known as stem cell injections. And listen, you don't have to be an NFL player to get it done or have this treatment. If you have low back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, or arthritis, check out the Regenerative Medicine Clinic at Aligned Health Center. Come in for a free consultation, complete with imaging and x-rays to see how Aligned Health Center can help you. No multiple shots are needed, and it's complete with physical therapy built into the process, so there's no downtime. And look, it gets even better. Align Health Center doesn't charge people for x-rays or exams, and they don't bill you later. They let you know right away the cost. They're upfront and transparent. They are number one for a reason. Call Align Health Center today at 440-385-7357 or visit their website at alignedhealthcenters.com to make an appointment and to learn more about how Align Health Center can help you. Again, that's 440-385-7357 or visit alignedhealthcenters.com.
45-40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribb! Snap back, ball down, kick block! They blocked the kick!
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast. I'm Holly Wetzel at Holly and Liz on Twitter. And while I'm normally joined by my partner in Browns crime, Jeremy Powell is out this week. And honestly, probably good for him. And so I am sorry then to the man that has to break down this season with me so far, the disaster of last night. I welcome in former NFL safety, 2015 Ohio State Buckeye champion, not to mention the defensive MVP of that championship victory. Man of the hour, Mr. Tyvis Powell. Tyvis, hi, I'm so happy that you're here to talk about how terrible the Browns are.
First of all, listen, we're gonna get through this episode. You know, it's some highs, it's some lows, but you know, we're gonna get through it. And I truly appreciate you for allowing me to come on this show and be able to, you know, get some stuff off my chest with the Browns as well, because, you know, I got a couple of things I want to say myself. So I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to do so.
Of course. I mean, anyone that can join me in celebrating this misery, you know what I mean? And that's all are welcome. So misery loves company. So I'm glad that you're here. And, you know, and I know you're a Browns fan. You're a lifelong Browns fan. You're from Cleveland area. Went to Bedford, right?
Yes.
So, you know, and I'm so glad you're here too, just because you know, this game inside and out, up and down. You've lived it. So I'm so interested to get your opinion on so many things. But the first thing I want to ask you is, you know, do you think did you ever think at this point that this is where we would be on January 4th, 2022, that this is the way our season would be ending, right? I mean, we all went into this season that there was, the only thing we were worried about is our defense. And
I wasn't even worried about that. To me, it was Super Bowl or bust for me. But come on now, Holly, you got to think about it. It's Cleveland. So did you really expect it to be some type of fairy tale? Like, it was going to be some bumps in the road. Ultimately, I just think with the offseason that they had, all the key players that they signed, with the Jadeveons, they went and got John Johnson. They drafted Greg Newsome, play opposite of Denzel. They addressed the linebacker position. JOK was a really home run hit. And then you just thought with Odell coming back and the Browns getting healthier, the way that they finished out the season last season, you just kind of thought that Baker would be that guy. You think this would be the year that, his second year in the system, you would think that they would take the next step. And it just was things just started happening. You had it started with the injury, and then it started with the Odell thing, and then COVID hit, and it just was a bunch of ups and downs in this season. But ultimately, I thought, I just thought that the breakdown just kind of landed on, in my personal opinion, it landed in Stefanski's hands because of how he handled the quarterback situation. I think it could have been handled a lot better. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you're right. I mean, you're not the only one that it was Super Bowl or bust. I mean, it was, and I think that's why so many people are incredibly disappointed with what happened this year, that these high hopes and expectations rise when you play at a certain level. And everyone's like, well, yeah, be happy with the fact that Baker did this for us. And we're all grateful for the things that he's able to do for us to this point. But again, it begs the question, which is he good enough? And where did the injury and all this play, in which I do want to go with you. I want to go over the timeline with you here in a bit, but where do we draw the line? Right.
See, it's really hard to my issue with Baker is this. Okay, Baker is just highly inconsistent. If you all right, we're gonna break down his career as an NFL Brown. As a rookie, he comes in the third game of the season. He lights it up. For the rest of that season, I think I want to say he went on to break the rookie touchdown record. I think something like that. Had a great season. The next season under Freddie Kitchens, it was a disaster season. The Browns were terrible that season. We all blamed it on Freddie Kitchens. We said it was his play calling. The next season after that, which was last year, we get Kevin Stefanski come in. It was a little struggle at the beginning. Odell goes down. Baker realizes that he has to step up. And once he does, he ended up making all these great throws. I want to say he ended up being like the third or fourth most accurate quarterback in the NFL. And even on the QBR rating, I think he was very high there.
Very high.
So he's shown that he could do it. Now, this season, you have to mark this season kind of with the asterisk because he is hurt. He was hurt. That is, and whether we want to say it's an excuse or not, I am a firm believer that if you put your shoulder pads on and go out and play, that you are healthy enough to play. But obviously, you can tell that he had a lot of missed throws, and you can tell that with that new harness that he had going on, you can tell that he just wasn't the same. I mean, they even said that he had to switch his whole throwing mechanics. So it's really hard to judge him off of this season. I think the smartest thing would have been for him to sit down and get right. I think the Browns probably would have been a little bit more successful because I feel like the playbook kind of got limited with him being hurt, because it's not like, for example, when you watch the Browns games, it wasn't as if, they were coming out and just slinging the peel all game. Like, I think when you watch the Browns play, I think most of his passes are within 12 yards. So it's not like he's throwing any deep balls. And I don't know if that's because his shoulder, is he limited because he can't do that? Because he does it a couple of times a game, but it's not consistent enough. And I think that's kind of was the frustration with Odell. It's like, I'm open, but I'm open down the field. I'm running these double move routes, and now I'm open. And it's like you ain't got that drive on the ball anymore to get it to me. I mean, take the Minnesota game. Odell beat his guy twice, and Baker missed throws him twice, and they was kind of underthrown balls. And I think that was at the beginning when we first realized that his shoulder was hurt. So, like I say, it's hard to really judge him this season because of the injury, because he has shown that he has been really good at times. But with this injury, it just looked really bad, and he looked terrible at times. But I'm willing to let him come. Well, he's going to come back for his 5th year anyways. I'm willing to see, with all this negativity around surrounding his name and all these people throwing him under the bus saying that, he can't win. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with him and all that. He's not naive. I think he definitely hears it. I know he hears it. How do I know he hears it? Because his wife lets us know that
and so does he, though, really. I mean, he calls out all the hosts and stuff. I want to ask you that, too, actually. I'm glad you brought that up because Jeremiah last week spent a good chunk of time on just like the impact of social media and how different it must have been in the past versus now having that type of outlet. I mean, never have I seen family members go after the quarterback in this or anyone on the team personally. I mean, like OBJ's dad wasn't just like, here he's open and he's not getting passes and it's the play calling. It was like, literally he was responding to comments under bad comments about Baker. Like, and then at the end of that, when OBJ left, I felt like there was even more support for him leaving than there was support for Baker internally. Like no one said anything from really top to bottom that came out and like really defended him. So would you say in that sense, I mean, obviously you're guessing, but did he lose the locker room with that? Could that have really divided the locker room enough?
I think it could for sure. I mean, Odell is a special talent. And the thing about it is what his father did. First of all, his father wasn't wrong for what he did. A lot of people would say he is, but until you have a kid and you as a father, you want to see your kid succeed. I mean, think about Odell for a second. Odell was coming into when he was with the Giants, he was one of the top receivers in the league. He sustained an injury, came to the Browns off the injury, had a couple of highlights, but never really got back to that Odell. So once he got hurt again last year, a lot of people would say, well, maybe he will never be back to that explosive receiver that he once was. And when you turn the tape on this year, it's like, why isn't he that guy? Like, why isn't he that guy that we got from the Giants? Was he worth the trade? Like, that's kind of where people were at with him. And obviously his father is looking at it like, my son is fine. Like, let me show y'all how good my son actually is. He's just not getting those opportunities. So as a father, he did what a father would do. Like, you're gonna obviously take up for your son. You're gonna speak for your son because Odell doesn't seem to come out as the type of guy that's going to go against the organization. He's kind of one of those guys that, if something is bothering him, he's one of the ones that's going to just take it on the chin and just suck it up and just go out there and try to be the best that he can be. Because he already got a negative, like people, when he says something, it could go left. Like he could say something just vanilla, plain white vanilla, and somebody has twisted up and make it bad. So he tries to do his best to not talk. And his father took it upon himself to just show the world that my son is really good, and he's just not getting those opportunities. So I don't blame his father for that. But as far as him dividing the locker room, some receivers can see that. Jarvis, I don't know how Jarvis feels about it. We know Odell is Jarvis's best friend. He wanted to play with him.
So speaking of, sorry to interrupt you, but Jarvis, I wanted to ask you about Jarvis. We have not heard a peep from him since mid-November.
Yeah, the last thing Jarvis said was, I ain't getting the ball either.
That's right. Which is a scary thing. That ain't good.
No, but it's frustrating. I mean, as a wide receiver like that, all right. So think about it. As a wide receiver, you come into this league for them two specifically, they did some incredible things at the beginning of their careers. Like I think Jarvis had the most receptions or something like that in the first 2 years or something like that. Odell had the most yards in the first couple of years or something. So those two coming into the league was ridiculous. And to see them regress, I would say, under this offense, because it is a run-heavy offense. It's not like they telling Baker to throw these deep balls and all that. They're throwing, like I say, 8 to 10-yard routes. Right. So to them, it's like, am I not good enough to do it anymore? No, that's not the case because I train. I do all off season. I train on doing all these routes and working on getting open on releases and stuff like that. And then I get to the game where I'm putting all this work and I'm not being rewarded for it. And, people are starting to say, well, maybe he just ain't good anymore. And that's not the case. So I could feel how their ego and their pride can be attacked by that. So that's kind of what that situation is to me. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Well, would you now them not getting the ball then, is that a Baker decision? Is that a play calling?
Well, see, that's
with Stefanski
or
both?
That's what I was trying to explain to some of my friends. It's like, all right, a quarterback has a lot on their plate. It is a very challenging position mentally because, all right, so you get the offensive play call, okay? You come out, you break the huddle, you come out and pre-snap, you look at your reads. You got to come up there, you got to make your checks and adjustments. You got to find out if a linebacker's blitzing. You got to try to look at the safeties and guess what coverage they in. This is all pre-snap. Once you say go or hike or whatever the heck you say, you got to check the safety to make sure you understand what coverage they're in, because the free safety is going to tell you if he goes to the middle of the field, obviously is either man on the outside or cover 3. If you see both safeties split open, it's either 2-man or it's cover 2. So you got to get that read right away. Once you get that read as a quarterback, now you got to think about your route progressions. Now you know what should and shouldn't be open, okay? So as that is going on,
right.
These receivers, a couple of these receivers, they run routes because they have to, while they run it, they have to sight adjust. They have to be able to run the route that they think. And I think a lot of the times they say that they were saying that sometimes these receivers run opposite routes. So for example, if we call a play and you're designed to run a hitch and you playing wide receiver and you run the hitch and the corner is covering that hitch, obviously you're going to spin out of it and try to do something else to get open. Well, as a quarterback, from the quarterback's view, if I see that if I'm thinking you running a hitch and I look at you and you my first read and you run a hitch and the hitch is covered, boom, I can't look at you no more. I'm going to the next read. So therefore, I feel like a lot of the times these double moves and these receivers get open, but he already gone because he got to get rid of the ball. So that's a part of the reason why you could be missed at receiver. And some of the times, I don't know. It was sometimes on some of them Odell plays, it did look like Baker looked him straight in his face and then threw the ball. So I can
watching
see
that tape, I know. Watching that tape.
I can see that too, because it definitely looked like, they do a great job of pointing the triangle, like he looking right at you while he didn't do it. So I don't know. It's one of those questions that only person that will have that answer truly is Baker Mayfield.
Right. Well, and so last night, okay, so we already kind of went through the timeline of him. Kansas City, we kind of picked up where we left off. We lost in the end. Baker couldn't get it done in the end. Other than that, he had a great game. Bounce back, Texans. That's when he gets hurt tackling Justin Reed. At that point, he's completed 82% of his passes in those first 2 games.
Yes.
Then everything happens, the foot ailments, the knee ailments. And it's weird because as these weeks are progressing, every week we're like, is he healthy enough? Is he going to play? Should Case start? Where is he at? And it's Andrew Berry comes out and says he is healthy enough to play. He's healthy enough to win games for us. And Baker echoes that and says, I'm healthy enough to play that to the point where it's not going to hinder our team. So it makes all of that then really hard to accept that, to not want to put the injury out of sight, out of mind, because everyone's saying that he's fine. Yeah. And then we get to Pittsburgh, we get to this game. Well, then there's the OBJ drama. Then we play the Bengals. He plays fantastic against the Bengals.
Yes,
it's like you would never know he was hurt.
Yes, he did.
And then, so we're like, okay, we might be turning a corner. And then we get murdered by the Patriots. The Patriots game was right after that. We barely beat the Lions. And then it was Green Bay. It was incomplete interception. And then we get to Pittsburgh finally. And it felt like we threw up all over that with that game from everything that has been building up this year. And Baker looked like a disaster. And I feel for him because I don't think all of last night was his fault.
No, last night was not his fault. His first of all, his offensive line needs to file a police report for assault and harassment for the way that they let that D line do them last night. That's first of all. Last night kind of was a wash for the Baker thing. And I also blame a little bit on Stefanski for the play calling, because this is the thing, if you know that your quarterback is hurt, or even if you know that your receivers are struggling and you got a guy who's a top running back in the league, I want to say he's like, third in rushing in the NFL or something like that. Mm-hmm. Top runner, and you just stop running the ball. I don't like, if you know running the ball is one of your strong suits. And that's what made the Browns so good last year, because they were such a balanced attack team. Like Nick Chubb was so good, like him and Kareem Hunt, that 1-2 punch was so effective last year that they were able to play action was just unbelievable, because you really sold out on trying to stop the run. And it's like they kind of got away from that game plan. It ain't the same anymore. And I mean, and then on top of that, as far as the receiving core goes and the tight ends, it's so many missed balls. It's like they dropping the ball, and
I know
the separation.
Austin Hooper.
Yeah, the separation is just not there anymore. And my last thing with them is this is my last knock on the organization. You are paying a backup quarterback $7 million to not play. Like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. So it's quite interesting where this season has gone.
Yes, very much. And that's why I felt like with this game last night, and now Baker's not playing next week. They've confirmed that, and he's going to get surgery as soon as possible. And it's like, wait, what the fuck? What happened?
That's so that tells you that they knew for a fact that he wasn't healthy enough to play, and they knew that he was regressing, and it's like. So
did they want to see him fail? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like, was he? Like, could it be? Is it pressure from ownership to get him out there? Was it Stefanski trying to be kind of like that yes man, or was Stefanski trying to be like a fuck you back to the ownership of like, you want me to play this guy, well here you go? And that's what I mean, also him abandoning the run like you talked about almost every game. I mean, that's what I think is so hard to try and figure out in this whole thing, because there's so many reasons behind what was causing him to either play out that week either play every week, and then all of a sudden he's too hurt and he's not going to play this last game. Then why even play him the week before with the Steelers? Why?
Well, because they still, I don't know, they probably still thought they had a chance for the playoffs. All right, so let's be honest. I think
they didn't at that point. Maybe they did. Maybe with the game plan, right? Up until that point, yeah, I can see that.
It's like, he didn't already practice this week. We didn't know that we wasn't going to be in the playoff run, so we might as well just go ahead. But this is the thing. This is the guy who Baker's a tough guy. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a tough guy. So I feel like, because I've been there. I actually been in a situation, not as severe as his, but I've been in a situation when I was in college where I was hurt, and my coach was like, if you too hurt to play, which you really kind of are, you need to let me know. You can definitely sit a game out. And to me, the competitor in me, and the fact that, I didn't want to let my teammates down, it kind of, forced me to play. It's like, I'm good. I'm gonna play. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a competitor. I'm gonna do what I need to do to get through. And I think that's kind of where Baker is. He understands that. I think where he's at is he understands that he is right now on that roster. To him, he is the best quarterback option for the Cleveland Browns. And I think that's where he's at, which you should be. As the starter, in my eyes, with me on the field, we have a better chance of winning games. True. Right. And it just, I think his pride kind of got in the way. It's if you go out there in that game and you realize that certain throws is getting away, you have to be real enough with yourself and say, I gotta let somebody else go in there because I'm really hurting my teammates. And I think that's kind of where a lot of the players, kind of started getting frustrated, like, especially as a wide receiver. It's like, bro, I know you can make this throw, but you're not making it. Like we didn't connect it. We'd have been throwing all off season. I know you know how to make this throw. I know you can make it, but you're not making it. So you need to move aside and let somebody who can make it. So that's where I think the frustration started to come in. And that's why I could see the disconnect between Baker and his receiving core. Cause it's like, dude, now you hurting my stats. Who knows? These players might got bonuses that they trying to get. Like if I get a certain amount of catches or yards, I get an extra bonus. And you affecting that with the way you playing right now. So that, anytime you mess with somebody's money, you're going to be a lot of frustration in there for sure. I don't care who you are. You start messing with my money, it's on. So I definitely can see that being a part of it. But at the end of the day, like I said yesterday on Twitter, Stefanski, you the head coach, man. Like you got to be able to, I understand you got higher ups like the GM and the owner, but if you know the guy is too hurt to play and you see, like, I can't call this play because he's not going to make this throw, that's a problem. Like that right there. If you have that thought go through your mind, then it's a problem. Like you got to get somebody in there that can, because now you shorten the playbook. Now it's making it easier for a defense because they're not going. The defense, you seen these defensive backs. Once Odell got traded, these defensive backs started playing so tight to the line of scrimmage, it's ridiculous. They like, ain't nobody about to deep threat us. They ain't got no deep ball threats no more. Ain't nobody got 100%. No blow. No burning speed, so I'm not fearing none of that. So and now you're putting me closer to the run, so now it's helping me with that game. So I think it's ultimately it just was a disaster.
Why do you think Stefanski did abandon the run so much so early throughout the season?
Well, before the injury, okay, this is a guy, Baker. Let's not get it wrong. Baker is a guy who wants to get his contract. The best way to get your contract is to go out there and improve it, So I think Stefanski kind of likes Baker. I think he does. I think he likes the swag that he got, the confidence that he got in himself, and he plays with a lot of passion and energy.
He does.
Like nobody can never take that away from that man. That man definitely comes out there, and I think when he gives it his all, whether he's hurt or not, he's going to try to be 100%, try to be the best him that he can possibly be. Nobody ever going to take that away from him. And you tend to gravitate to guys like that. So Stefanski, I think, wanted to try to give him opportunity to try to earn his money. I wanted him, Josh Allen signed this big deal. All these people saying, Baker shouldn't receive this money. He ain't that good. No. And it's like, well, I'm going to show y'all. I'm going to let y'all go out there and prove it. Now, once Baker got hurt, I don't know why he did that. Like, that's when it's like, but like I say, it's like you would have to have been at practice. Like I would need to have been at practice to see if he was making these throws in practice, how things looked in practice. Because if he was in practice lasering the thing and everything looked good, you can't blame Stefanski because it's like.
Well, that's good. What he kind of said. He said that kind of today, like in the presser, that like every week, like they made this decision together. Every week they watched him at practice, and they decided every one of those weeks that he was good enough to go out there and try to get the job done. And he even said himself, I know my body, I know this, and I know that can get clouded with what you talked about with wanting to play and have that mental toughness and not wanting to let your teammates down and all of that. But every week, so it makes it very hard for me, at least, and I know and others, to feel like I know he was hindered and he's going to be hurt, but isn't he always going to be hurt? I mean, he's not that big of a guy, right? I mean, he can't see, right? He's not tall enough.
That's why they run a lot of play actions and bootlegs to get him out the pocket.
So he can move.
I think that's what that's all about. That's why they run a lot of shotgun and all that stuff so he can see over the line. But like I say, the thing, it's just, he just right now, I couldn't see the Browns organization paying him because of his inconsistency. Like I said, I went over his career. We can even take it to this season. It's just first game against Kansas City, pretty solid game. I mean, he threw the pick at the end, but it was a pretty solid performance. Move on through the weeks. Like you said, he was 82% before the injury, completion rate, and that's really good. And then, he had some flashes where he had some games where the first game against Pittsburgh, I don't believe that was Baker's fault. I believe it was a wide receiver's fault. I believe it's been times that he has been able to deliver that ball and his receivers not made the plays. That's a thing too. But the recent game I can think of the most was the Packers game. Think about it. The first drive, he's been out for what, 3 weeks or 2 weeks, something like that. He had time to rest. A lot of them injuries they wasn't 100%, but they were a lot better than what they were. He goes out in that first drive against Green Bay. Great team, great opponent. These are the games that if you can do well in these games and give us a chance to win, this is how you earn that big money. So he goes out in the first drive, boom, takes it right down the field. Boom, touchdown. Yes. Right, very next drive, interception, next drive, interception, next drive, touchdown, next drive, interception. So it's like you do it and then you go do this, right. then it's this. And it's like as a franchise quarterback, you can't be streaky like that. Like I think you have to, if you want to put yourself in that top tier, like you want to be that great quarterback and you want to earn all this money, you have to be able to first win big games. You have to show up in big moments, and you got to at the minimum, you got to be able to at least take care of the football. And those 3 things, he hasn't answered none of those questions this year, and that's kind of why it's like,
right. And it puts you at a major crossroads. I think that's why a lot of people don't know how to feel. But this goes back to I was listening to Colin Cowherd, and he was talking about the standards and where Browns fans really is where he was going with this, is like, where are our standards? Like he compared Rams moved off of Goff, and he was 42-27 in LA. Kansas City moved off of Alex Smith. He was 50-26. Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl, 30-14. They're moving on from him, and Baker's 28-29. So it does make you think, where are our standards? If we're not the same old Browns anymore, this isn't good enough, right? And if we're still at a crossroads coming on year 5 with this guy, at this point, we should know. I mean, it's like, are you going to get married, right? Like, you've been with this person for 4 or 5 years. Like, if you're still like, I don't know, it's like, well, then probably it's not going to work. Like, I don't want to settle, right? And I don't think that Baker's bad. I think he's good. I think that he's good in a certain system, an Stefanski's system, but it felt like that system was obsolete this year. Like, there was no rhyme or reason to anything. It didn't feel like there were so many stupid penalties. I want to talk about that, actually. I mean, talk to me. I want to know what the process is when you are learning these penalties.
Okay, see, some of these penalties be skewed, okay? Like it's kind of wishy-washy sometimes. I mean, obviously, every year in training camp, they bring the referees in, and the referees tell you, we're really focusing on this year. They give you examples of what you can and cannot do, but as a whole, especially at the professional level, what's penalty and what's not a penalty. The little things that you can and cannot get away with. But this year, as far as their offensive line go, it's been some holding calls. But last night, it was a man going for a career day. So you had a guy, Jack Conklin, went out. Well, they've been out, and you replace him, and obviously that man is struggling. I mean, it was,
to say the least,
struggling. I don't know what that might be doing him. It ain't really right for the word to use for what was going on. He really was going through it right now, yesterday. So some of them holding calls, I think it was to the point because he really should have got tied the record last. TJ Washington tied the record. The dude held him so bad. I think the referee at this point just felt so bad that he didn't even call.
Was murdering him over and over again.
It's sad. It's sad because I have never been there. Like, I've never played the line in my life, but I can only imagine, man. Like the man was just better than him, and I think they even tried to bring tight ends over there to chip block, because usually that's what they do. If you're struggling, they had a running back chip the guy and just to give you some help.
Something.
TJ Watt is a special talent. I mean, the man is like arguably DP of the defensive player of the year. So I don't know what you really could do.
Yeah, I know. Well, right. I mean, there wasn't really in that sense, and and I get a lot of that stuff. That's not under, Baker's control and the whole thing. And that's what happens when guys get hurt, right? I mean, it's next man up, but sometimes that next man up sucks. Or can't go up against someone like TJ Watt.
Whoever wins the Super Bowl this year, I really believe COVID and injuries this year has really shown that you need to have more depth on your team. Like, because that COVID bug can hit at any time, and your backups really have to be able to step in and perform like your starter. So your backup players nowadays in the NFL have to be really good, because at any given moment, they got to go in there and play like the starters. So whatever team gets to the Super Bowl, because every team really kind of is getting hit with the COVID thing and forcing these backups to play. So whoever team wins the Super Bowl, I feel like truly has the best team overall, because it was shown that they, even with COVID, even with injuries, they still stepped in and that haven't missed a beat. And that team deserves to win the Super Bowl, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do want to talk about, we're going to talk about the Bengals here. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will do Bengals. I will get your prediction, Tyvis, even though it's, it is what it is at this point.
It don't matter, huh?
Right. And then we'll go from there. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomwell CBD Store and PhenomwellCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, PhenomwellCBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary.
And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
This is Mike Voorhees, co-host of the Swingin' a Tribe MLB podcast. If you love Cleveland Indians baseball, then this is the pod for you. We've got you covered each week as we talk about all the games, breaking news, trades, the roster, all things Tribe. You're going to love it. Go Tribe.
Hello, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of the Producing While Asian podcast. Join us to listen in on conversations with everyone who identify from producers to non-producers who all are part of the AAPI community. There's all that and more on the Producing While Asian podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Want to hear more about your favorite TV shows and movies that are on countless streaming services?
Then listen to Up Next with your new favorite hosts, me, Kristen Aviles,
and me, Christina Walter.
Every other week, we'll highlight one genre, but 2 movies or TV shows, one old and one new.
We'll let you know what's hot and what's not from your favorite
or least favorite
streaming services.
And be sure to stay tuned to the end of each episode where we shout out an artist whose name you should know for their talent in the industry.
So follow us to stay up to date with your favorite hosts from Up Next,
a part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
All right, we are back on the Orange is Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast. I'm Holly Wetzel, joined, of course, with Mr. Tyvis Powell. Tyvis, thanks for hanging with me and going over this. Like, it's like the wake of the Brown season as we're discussing the ups and downs.
Well, the good thing about it is, we had high expectations, but hey, I guess the saying's back. There's always next year, they'll get it figured out.
I want to
next
throw
year.
up every time I hear that.
Next year will be the year, at least we had some expectations. I mean, all these other times we came in and had no idea what was going to happen. I mean, at least this past offseason, we were really invested and really into the team and behind the team. And it was nice to have that feeling for once again.
It was, yeah. And I don't think that that's all it's lost. I feel like it's really hard because I really like Baker Mayfield. I wanted him. I wanted the Browns to draft him when they did.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been really good for the city, but Jeremy and I say this every week that the things that we love about Baker are the things that we don't like about Baker. It's like we love his toughness and his grit, and his attitude, but sometimes his attitude sucks, right? And there's been so much drama with him off the field too, and obviously the social media stuff, and we'll get to the Bengals, but I wanted to ask you this social media question. One more. You're married.
Yeah.
How much of a factor does that play? So like when you're in that locker room, right, it's game day and you're going to practice, especially game day. How much is all of that blocked out? I mean, is that something that gets carried in? Would it bother you as a player if one of your teammates' wives was posting what Emily posts, what Wyatt Teller's wife is posting? Not so much his dad, OBG's dad, but the wives and stuff just kind of complaining about certain things and voicing their opinion. And, Emily Mayfield's thrown out ancient stats comparing Baker to Brett Favre and like all this random shit. So like, would that bother you as a teammate, or do you not even care? I mean, where does that fall in the disruption that could have possibly caused this season?
Honestly, being a professional athlete, I don't really, you can't really pay attention to what somebody else's wife is doing. I mean, because as a professional athlete, I got my own thing I need to worry about. Like I can't critique what his family's got going on. I can watch it, I can see it all, but I can have my thoughts and opinions on it. But at the end of the day, I got to show up and do my job. So until I'm the best person to ever do my job, I can't really ever criticize what another man is doing because it's things that I probably could do. I've always been one of those, I can't point the finger, I'd rather pull the thumb. I'm that type of guy. So like, So for example, like we went out, here we go. Here's a perfect example right here.
Please.
The Green Bay Packer game, Baker goes out there and throws 4 interceptions and as a defense, they scored every time he thrown an interception. Now we can pout about it and we can say, oh, well, he shouldn't have been throwing interceptions. Well, as a defensive player, as a defender, your job is to not let them score. So we failed as well. That's why I looked at it. He threw the interception. That's tough. We go out there, we let them score. It's our fault as well. So until we can stop them from scoring on takeaways, we can't really say anything.
Right.
So
Got it.
To get back to your comment, no, it wouldn't bother me. That's what family does. I mean, it's his wife. Like she's gonna watch out for him. She's gonna look out for him. It's good to know that he got a solid wife that's got his back like
and
that.
She does.
That's real
More ways than one.
Right
That is
there.
for
like,
sure.
it ain't for no money. She ain't clout chasing. She truly messes with this man. She's willing to put herself on the line for this man. So, to me, that's a beautiful thing. I respect it. I know my wife would probably do the same. I know my wife would do the same for me. So therefore, to answer your question, no, it wouldn't bother me.
Okay. All right. Well, that was one more question. And it really goes back to, like I said, trying to figure out what went wrong throughout this season. It was a slow downfall. It
started with the injury. It started with the injury.
And it did. And then it just, it expanded.
Listen,
it grew like a tumor.
I honestly think that the season might have been a little bit differently if after the injury, think about this. He gets hurt. Okay. When did you say he get hurt? The Houston game was at the
Texans game. It was week 2.
Second game, yeah. Second game of the season. Boom. Baker gets hurt. He has to get surgery. He's out for the rest of the year. Pause. 1. Before Baker went out, 82%. Cleveland's like, okay, you 1-1. Okay, we didn't get – Kansas City at the time was looking bad. At the end of the season, they really one of the best teams, so now it's justifiable. It's like, all right, we was in the ballpark with one of the best teams that could potentially go win the Super Bowl this year. So, all right, things is good. We can afford to maybe pay this man because he definitely had us in the game. So, all right. Case Keenum goes in there. This is a man who's making $7 million anyways. He understands the playbook better than probably anybody because he's been in Stefanski's offense for years. He goes out there, has a fairly decent season. We still got Odell. Because Odell's not going to be mad at Case Keenum. Case Keenum not the starter. I trained with Baker. Case Keenum probably still going to be able to throw the ball and still hit me on my roster. I mean, I think he did that in the Denver game, actually. Yeah, had made some pretty nice throws. He went out there. He won games. So if we're looking at the season now, say we didn't make the playoffs, but Case Keenum was the quarterback, I don't think Bakefield has any drama. I think Odell Beckham is still a part of this team. And I think nobody's going to fault Stefanski because it's like your starting quarterback isn't there, bro. So you kind of got an excuse for this year. Right. And I think Cleveland has still got high hopes. We got Baker coming back next year, which is good. Instead of now, it's like, do we want Baker back next year? Is our offense going to be fixed? So I think that right there was the defining moment of this season when they didn't decide to let that man get that surgery.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that we would be talking a whole different talk, singing a whole different tune about this entire season, and nobody would have blamed that. That happens, unfortunately, a lot. Injuries can uproot a season, and I'm sure the Browns were under pressure. I know Baker, I'm sure, was under a lot of pressure in that sense of wanting to still go out there and try and get what he wanted to get done this season, because there were a lot of expectations around the Browns, and I feel for him because I feel like not only himself, but the people around him failed him on a lot of that. No, I agree. And it's sad that this is where we've come to. And I was going back and forth. I'm like, is Baker even happy here anymore? And I know it's really hard to say right now because there's a lot of really raw emotion. I think the season just needs to end and just everyone needs to go their separate ways for a little bit, probably, and really examine what this looks like. And I think it's still salvageable with him. There's a certain, it was like our playoff chances 2 weeks ago. There's there's a little chance. I feel like they're salvageable for anything long term. I'm
different with it, man. I really believe that Baker really needs to let his get this surgery, let his shoulder heal. And if what I told you at the beginning of this is true, first season, really good. Second season, bad. Third season, really good. Next season, bad. Then this next season, he should light it up, which he is going to he's going to have extra motivation because, one, he got a bunch of people here that's doubting him, which always fuels the fire. 2, he has no choice but to play well. If he ever wants to sign that big contract, he has to prove it. He got to prove it. 3, Cleveland's probably going to address the quarterback situation anyway, whether that be via trade or through the draft. Somebody is coming to Cleveland to try to take Baker Mayfield's spot. So he got 3 things going on, 3 motivational factors going on for him, which I believe is going to allow him to light it up. And if it doesn't work out and the Browns do trade or draft another quarterback, which I 100% believe they should, because you can't have – there's no way you've seen what happened this year, you will let it happen again next year. There's no way. You have to treat this kind of how the Tennessee Titans did Marcus Mariota. Signed him to a 5th year, went out there, traded for Ryan Tannehill. Marcus Mariota started the season, started doing bad. Tannehill goes in, boom. Marcus Mariota is no more. They never look back. I think the Browns have to take it that same way. But if we do move on from Baker, I truly believe that wherever he goes, he probably end up somewhere like like Houston or freaking the Saints or something like that. I think he gonna light it up. I really do. I just think that man got some type of confidence to himself. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback to ever play the game at all. I just like his approach to the game. I like the passion and the energy. Anybody that plays with passion and energy seems to always find a way to get an edge over his opponent and win games. And he's proven that he can do so. So I don't know what he'll be moving forward. I do believe next year will be a great test to see what his future will be like.
Yes, it definitely will. So, now we'll look to next week with the Bengals. In the past, Baker has pretty much owned them. He's not obviously playing next week. What are your thoughts? Does it really matter? Are they going to be sitting more guys? Is it going to be a bloodbath? Are they still going to try and compete? I mean, I felt like last night was going to be kind of a weird game, but like our defense was still trying all 4 quarters. Even though our offense seemed to give up, our defense was still trying to, do what they could. So in this situation, where would your head be at as a player? Is it just trying to get this game over with? Is it still worth it to you? And it may be yes, because like you talked about, it's always, there's money on the line. It's your reputation and all of that.
As a professional athlete, it's always worth it. This is the thing, okay? Especially for the defense. This defense has not played. This will be the first season that everybody on the defense kind of played together, and they've had some injuries. So, I mean, you got Myles Garrett, who's dealing with some injuries. You got Jadeveon, who's always in and out of the lineup. And you got, Newsome, who was in and out of the lineup. But, these guys outside of Myles is kind of fairly new to this defense. So they need to continue to go hard with each other, because you got to learn how to play off of each other, if that makes sense. That's kind of how defenses are. Like when I played in college, I had Joey Bosa. I knew Joey was great, but, if Joey was supposed to go outside, sometimes Joey is not going to go outside. Joey going to go inside. And if you don't know that, two people going to end up outside and you're going to get gapped and it's going to look bad. So I think for defense, you have to continue to get reps with each other and learn how to play with each other, always play with that passion and that energy. As far as the offense goes, I think they still motivated. I mean, you still got – it's not like Nick Chubb is going to win the rushing title, but, I think he wants to solidify his spot. I don't know if Kareem Hunt is coming back or not. Probably he shouldn't. He probably should just,
right at this point.
At this point, because you're not going to the playoffs. But as far as the wide receivers go, they need to put some tape out there. I don't know who's going to be back at receiver next year, but anybody who will be a free agent, which it could be a lot because it was a lot of people that signed 1-year deals. They have to play for their next team. Is
Jarvis coming back?
I have no idea. Probably not.
I don't think he is either.
I think we'll have a whole new receiving core. The only person that I probably could see coming back is DPJ and Schwartz, because they're under rookie contracts. Right. The rest of them, I don't see Higgy coming back. I don't see Higgy ain't coming back because he a healthy scratch. Anytime you see somebody a healthy scratch, something's wrong. Healthy scratch there. Jarvis ain't been Jarvis. And the thing about Jarvis is actually still good, and he needs to be appreciated. And I think he feels underappreciated in this offense. So he needs to go back to getting that appeal, because Jarvis was very effective in Miami. Why? Him and Odell was kind of the same. Why? Because they were able to take short routes and make people miss and break tackles and boom, take it the distance. And with this offense, they kind of running more routes, and it's kind of hard for them to get open, and it's kind of predictable. So these defenses know what they're doing. So it's kind of hard for them to even get open. I think they're better with the ball in their hands and making people miss. And they kind of got away from that. So I think Jarvis going to probably be gone, because he really don't like the way they did his boy anyways. Hooper ain't going nowhere, even though he should.
He's cost us too much money.
They need to bring him in for grand larceny. Definitely he robbed them with a finger gun this year.
Oh, so beyond true. Yeah, that was rough yesterday. He looked just deer in headlights. And watching him run, like it just
it's just the whole offense just kind of regressed this year, and it's sad to see. The defense has been all right, but the offense regressed.
Yes, very much so. So do we take this W? I mean, what are your thoughts? What's your prediction?
Well, I think Cincinnati has no reason to rest. I don't know. Is they like, okay? They playoff spot is solidified, but like
it is. But I think they could. I don't know. I think if who would the Chiefs play again this week?
I don't know.
Denver. Is it Denver?
Somebody they're gonna beat.
It's Denver. I think if Denver beats them and they win, and there might be another scenario. These scenarios are crazy. They could get the top seed.
Oh, well, then if that's the case, then they got something to play for. So that means that they're going to play. So if they're going to play, if they starters is going to play,
yeah,
and Baker's not playing, it's going to be a run-heavy game. And I don't know how good they are against the run. With that being said, I think it's going to be closer than we think. My final score.
We beat the Bengals the last 20 times. I mean, I know that was with Baker.
But it was, the reason why, because the Browns, when they got something to prove, they play really well.
Yeah.
When they back is against the wall, they come out swinging. I respect that about them. And at that time, they played the Cincinnati right when Odell left. And Baker felt attacked. So Baker was like, I'm going to show you that I can sling this pill. Right. So he went out there and was delivering that ball. And they was like, okay, it was Odell. Then things started regressing. So with that being said, I don't know if the Browns going to win it or not, but I'm going to say it's going to be a close game. I got 17-10. You can go either way. It don't matter who you put on top. 17-10 be the final score. Run heavy game.
And I think last time I checked, I mean, I know it's early in the week. We were favored. I don't know if that might definitely could have changed before the Baker news. I don't really know or not. But yeah, I mean, I think it's either one. I don't think we're going to score too many points. I think it's just going to be like, let's try to finish as strong as we can.
It's going to be I think both do they know if Kansas City play first and then they play, or they play
Kansas? So Kansas City does play Denver, and they play on Saturday, so we'll know.
Oh, really? Oh, well, Denver ain't gonna beat Kansas City. So with that being said,
I know
it's gonna be a run heavy game, and they not gonna risk obviously getting their players hurt. So Cincinnati are playing to just get out of there. You know what I mean? The Browns playing with a little bit more swag, a little bit of edge to them, because it's like let's at least go out with a win. What is the Browns record right now? 7-9?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they ain't gonna have no winning season. They can't even hit 500.
Nope.
I'm gonna tell you what. I tell you what, and I hate to say this, but I've been there before. It actually might be more favorable for the Browns to lose the game because it'll give you a higher draft
pick, right?
So, and that's kind of where these coaches and GMs be at this point, where it's like it ain't even no point in us winning. We might as well take the lower draft pick. So if that's the case, the Browns ain't winning this game because they ain't got nothing to play for. What would be the point of the win?
Right.
So they might as well lose it and just get the higher draft.
I wish we weren't even playing it. I wish that would have been the last game of the season. I don't even want to watch it. It's going to be.
Nah, because you got to get some people, because a lot of young people might play, and I want to see what the future holds. So you need to.
Well, you know what? You've been such a ray of positivity. You got
to know what you got.
This is good, because usually this is just a full on crap fest.
The Browns it hasn't just been all bad. Like they've had some exciting things going on. I mean, at one point in time, Myles Garrett was unstoppable. I mean, the man had like 4 sacks in the game at one point in time. He was like the sack leader. Defense,
sure
we had J.O.K. and Grant Dale Pitt, 2 young guys. I mean, they was coming around there. They was like the most excited people outside of Myles Garrett. They was literally the most exciting people on defense to watch. Denzel Ward I think he missed 1 or 2 games, which is unbelievable for him. The Strappy was locked down cornerback.
That man needs to get paid.
The only time he struggled was Devontae Adams, and that's Devontae Adams. Everybody does. So, like Denzel, he should 100% get paid this season for me. And I mean, he was my ex-teammate. Denzel, I need my cut for saying this. Anyway, he needs to be paid. I mean, the man is like top 4 in coverage grades this year on the PFF. Like, this man has truly been lights out. Yes. When you watch him play, he literally can stick with the best wide receivers and does a really great job of defending them. So it was great to see that. That's exciting to see. As far as the offense goes, I mean, the running backs is still unbelievable. Your offensive line is only going to get better. You had a couple of injuries, so you can throw that in there. Obviously, you had an injury at quarterback. Throw that in there. Njoku, guy who went from wanting to be traded, now he wants to stay and kind of get paid.
He's been fantastic this year.
Had a couple flashes this season. He might be back. I
hope he is.
Hooper, the way he's been playing. Harrison Bryant still coming in, making touchdowns in the red zone. Very effective guy. Felton, I like to see Felton get more involved. I think he could be a really special talent on the gadget side. Schwartz got that breakaway speed. I would like to see him get more reps because, I just don't think that receiver thing is natural to him. I think he got a long way to go, but if he can get it figured out, he could be highly effective. We seen DPJ turn into a guy who was a 3rd-string receiver to turn into a primary receiver. I mean, he has some highs and some lows, but when he's on, man, he's tough. He's a tough guard. So that's positive moving forward. It's been a lot of things over the Baker struggle and all the offensive struggle and all that. It's still some light at the end of the tunnel that's being overlooked. And these players deserve their praise.
Yeah.
And another guy, Malik McDowell. Listen to his story. Man goes to Michigan State, gets drafted 2nd round to Seattle. Gets hurt, doesn't play, gets kicked out the league. See him on YouTube getting tased by the police, comes back into the NFL. Browns give him a shot. The man goes out there and he looks like one of the best dang D linemen on the D line for the Browns. Look at that. That man completely turned his life around, and it was all because the Browns decided to give this man an opportunity. That's something to be positive about. I'm happy that the man figured it out. I hate you because you went to Michigan State, and I can't outside of that. You all good in my books.
I love it. No, this is good. See, it's like I've gone to therapy and I was like really down and out about like losing something. And you've become the fantastic therapist of just reminding us all of all like the silver lining on a lot of this season. Cause I think, and that's good. I think a lot of fans need to hear what you just went through because we're so fixated. I know that's a natural thing that you fixate on the bad because that's what doesn't feel good, doesn't look good, what have you. It's human of us to do that. So to shed light on, actually, we had some other positive things happen this season is good. So I'm glad that you joined me today to break all this down.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come on. And, it was good for me too. I got to clear my mind.
People helping people here, right?
It wasn't all good, but it's not all bad. Everything. That's one thing that I learned in college. It's never as good as you think, but it's never as bad as you think as well. So it's just you gotta. It's all about trying to be level-headed and just staying on that flat road and never get too high, never get too low. Always look for the positive things. That's kind of how I live my life. Look for the positive things, man. All positive vibes. 2022. I'm
here for it.
Spokesperson for it.
Yeah. I'm going to put like Tyvis isms, like everything on my little like dartboard in my office of like little nice reminders of how wonderful life is and to be positive. So, Thanks for that. You made me, for real, feel better about the Cleveland Browns, which
glad I could help, man. It was fate. That's probably why I was brought on this show, because I wanted to uplift us Browns fans. We gonna be all right, y'all. Like, y'all they gonna figure it out. Like, you can't go from a team that went to a playoffs last year, have a season like this, and then think it's just gonna go downhill again. You can't. Like, I don't. The culture has totally changed there. So I just. I trust them. Andrew Berry has really done a great job of handling things the best way he can and bringing in key off-season additions. I look to see him do the same thing this year. And they're going to find the people that fit their culture. And when the people that they do bring in probably will make a difference. And we'll be singing that, "Here we go, Brownies, here we go." We saying it again.
I sure as hell hope so. So we will see. It's going to be a long off season, but we still got to get through next week. So officially next week, I think they lose. Right? It is what it is. But and that's fine.
For the better draft pick, there's no sense in them winning this game. It was really no sense.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens next week. So Tyvis, again, thank you so much for joining me today. Much appreciated. It's been an awesome, nice long convo. I could keep talking with you for sure. So thank you again so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. This has been another great episode of the Orange is Orange Cleveland Browns podcast. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on Apple, and also follow us at Orange is Oranger, at Press Play Pods, and visit us at pressplaypods.com. Thanks, Tyvis. Go Browns.
It's a question of life. It's the story of